Hey there! Welcome back to another Dying Light 2 video. This time is going to be a much more different topic than what I originally anticipated. It's like, despite my previous video saying that I will most likely be making a video on a specific class, I just decided to change up a topic on a specific thing that I feel like should be much more noticed, because a lot of the time when I'm actually watching other people play Dying Light 2, or when they're talking about Dying Light 2, they don't really talk about this specific thing, or like this specific mechanic that a lot of people don't really know. But when I found out about it, it felt really interesting, to say at least. So what exactly am I going to be talking about? Well, I'm going to be talking about the difference between peacekeepers and the survivors, and what they bring to the table mostly. What do I mean by this is that I'm going to give you a small little fun fact. The peacekeepers and the survivors actually do have some sort of different gameplay elements to it. Well, not elements to it, but they just kind of like change the environment, to say at least. And they also like have a small little bonus effect that not a lot of people notice of. What do I mean by this is that the shopkeepers and the craftmasters are actually different depending on who controls the area, whether it be peacekeepers or survivors. This is a neat little detail that I myself noticed. It's like, when I actually noticed about this, it felt very surprising, to say at least. And so right now we're going to be talking about the survivors and talk about what they actually do around the world when you're walking around their territory, and what type of items they sell to you whenever you're approaching them, like when you're approaching a seller, or a shopkeeper I should really be saying, or the craftmaster. So, what does the survivor exactly do when you approach their territory? Well, not much exactly happens other than the fact that they're just like staying on rooftops doing their own thing. Sometimes you'll find them cooking food, sometimes you'll see them like making a custom instrument, sometimes you see them collecting berries, mushrooms they find, you see them building they're constructing, I cannot fucking speak. They're constructing like some sort of tool for you to use. Or you sometimes just see them have a conversation about something, or you sometimes see them get stung like by a fucking bee, which is sometimes funny. And I personally myself actually stop and just like admire what they're doing. Like, it just feels sort of relaxing to like stop for a moment and just see what they're up to, you know? Even if it's nothing special, I just love like chill back, like looking back at them, just doing their own thing. But what happens if you attack them exactly? Well, nothing really happens other than the fact that they'll look at you confused and start running away. They won't alert anyone else. Well, they will, but they'll mostly just like run away from you, because they don't really have the fighting skills to like fight you, of course. And so, another small little detail that I myself noticed is that you'll see much more renegades roaming around in a survivor-controlled territory. You'll sometimes see them on rooftops, just like looting. Sometimes you see them on the streets taunting someone, or like vandalizing some cars, and so on and so on. Because the survivors are not exactly fighters in the game, you'll see much more renegades just like roaming around, just like doing their own thing as well. But what about the shopkeepers and the craftmasters? Why are they so different from the peacekeepers? Simple. The survivors are mainly focusing on providing you much more materials. It's like, whenever you go visit a shopkeeper in a survivor-controlled territory, you'll notice is that they'll offer you more materials than actual, like, equipment. Like, you'll see, like, 1 or 2 items that are, like, actually useful. Like, you'll find 1 armor and, like, 1 weapon, and then the rest is just, like, materials. Why is that? Well, it kind of makes sense, lore-wise, because they just, like, want to survive and find, like, materials to survive. They're not exactly fighters. So it does make sense for them to sell you materials. And of course, they also provide a bonus, well, not exactly bonuses, but more like they give you abilities that they place around the territory they control. As like as an example being, they place like jump pads, or they put like they make air vents function much more. They put zip lines that you can use much more easily, and so on and so on. But because they're not exactly fighters, if you do sometimes find yourself in a situation where you can't really fight, and you see like a group of survivors like chilling, they won't help you. Instead, they'll just run away. Like, don't expect them to do anything to you. And that's pretty much it about them. But what about the peacekeepers exactly? What do they bring to the table? They bring actually a lot of interesting things into it. But let's talk about something that doesn't really affect Matt that much. Like little interactions they do, pretty much. Sometimes you'll find them just like helping innocent civilians on the streets. Like they got injured, and so they're providing medical aid to them. Sometimes you'll find them arresting a bandit. Sometimes you'll find them like doing like a patrol, just roaming around to see if the situation is clear. Sometimes you'll see them just chilling around the campfire, just like being on a lookout. But another thing that is a cool little fact is that they'll deploy, well, not exactly deploy, but they'll recreate these like small little watchtowers that you'll find around Villador. As you can see in this clip I have, is that there is a small little Overwatch tower that the peacekeepers are just like chilling on. And you also might notice that there's also UV light. And yes, you can actually chill on those during the night. If you're getting chased by a group of volatiles, or your immunity is about to run out, or your immunity progress is about to dry the fuck out, then you can go to a peacekeeper with a watchtower and just chill there for a few moments, wait for your immunity bar to go up, or wait for the volatiles to leave you.
Gotcha,
and
you
so,
spastic little gremlin!
Another thing I should also be mentioning is that if you're getting chased by the infected, or you're like getting chased by bandits or renegades, and if you actually bring them to the watchtowers, the peacekeepers will actually abandon the tower and actually come in and defend you, or like protect you and fight the renegades. Of course, they're not the best fighters because, well, the NPCs themselves are not the best at fighting each other, but nonetheless, they are willing to help you, and they can also be used as a way to distract the enemy, and so on and so on, which is a niche little detail. And sometimes you'll also see them like placing like barricades for zombies to not like enter through, and they'll place like spikes more often on roads, which is nice if you want to use them, of course. And of course, let's talk about the bonus effects they give. You get the access to have electric fences, or like traps that I should really be saying, that you'll most likely find on streets and alleyways, explosive cars that they deploy, or like lanterns that have a Molotov attached to them, so you can like use it as a trap, or like UV lights you can activate, and so on and so on. And let's not forget the best weapon they give you in the game, which is the crossbow, and so on and so on. But what does the shopkeepers and craftmasters do like give you exactly? Like, is it any different from the survivors? Yes, it is very different. Unlike the survivors, the peacekeepers don't really give you that much materials to begin with. You just mainly get the materials from the craftmasters, but the craftmasters themselves, from the peacekeeper side, they don't give you that much. So, the peacekeeper's shopkeeper, they mostly give you a much more better quality weapons and armor. And another thing they also give you is boosters and some explosives. Of course, these are not like the best, but you know, just having them with you is pretty neat, because of course, say a level 3 regeneration boost is not as effective as a max level regeneration booster, it is still helpful nonetheless if you don't have materials and you don't have time looking for them, of course. And so it just kind of like depends on how you wanna, like, what do you want mostly? Do you want to get more materials, or do you want to get more equipment with you? Because like I said, the peacekeepers give you better quality weapons and armor, and they give you explosives and boosters that can range from damage resistance, damage increase boosters, like making you stronger or much more tougher to kill, like harder to kill, or they give you like stamina booster, damage resistance against like electricity, fire, toxin, and so on and so on. However, the levels can be like different, because like every time the shopkeeper like changes its items, the level of the items also changes. You might get a max level boost, like a max level damage increase, or like a level 5 grenade, and so on and so on. And so the peacekeepers mainly focus on giving you weapons and armor and equipment for you. Meanwhile, the survivors, on the other hand, mainly focus on giving you a better materials and in a much more higher quantity. The survivors give you a higher quantity of materials, meanwhile the peacekeepers give you better weapons. And that's pretty much it. There's really not much else to really talk about other than the fact that this is a tiny little detail that a lot of people don't really pay attention to, mostly. It's like, I feel like this little detail that Techland has put it out is... It's really interesting for me, especially. And it's just like, it makes the game feel a lot alive, even though it's not much, and it's just a small little detail, but for me, it is something that, like, it means to me, mostly, because I love Techland, and when they, like, put little details in their game, and so, the fact that Peacekeepers and Survivors, like, actually offer you different items when you're buying from them is very interesting. But what type of affection should you be siding with? Like I said, that's up to your personal preference. If you want more materials, or like materials in a much higher quantity, and you want to be able to maneuver the city much more effectively, then of course the survivors are your thing, because they provide you a jump pad that allows you to reach buildings much more quicker without having to like climb over. They also give you they'll also like open the air vents much more, so you can use the paraglider much more effectively, and they'll put zip lines around the area. But the peacekeepers, on the other hand, if you want more weapons, or like much more effective weapons, or like better armor, then the peacekeepers are your best guess. And let's also not mention the fact that they also give you boosters to help you on your journey. Of course, it's not the same as a max level regeneration booster you can craft yourself, but if you don't have the materials to craft that, of course you can go visit a peacekeeper shop and get yourself a regeneration booster, whether it be level 1, level 4, or level 3. It doesn't matter, as long as you have it. It's just a niche little bonus effect. And yeah. And let's also not forget the fact that they also give you traps for you to use. Although they don't really help that much, but they're a little nice. And the crossbow that the game gives you is also overpowered. You don't really need a specific skill to make it better, it's just the weapon itself is already fucking deadly enough, with a 5-round magazine capacity. Don't ask me how that works, it's just how it works. This is a video game we're talking about. Even though the magazine that looks a little bit small, but hey, we're not gonna question it. And so, of course you can do like a bit of a mix here and there. Like, you can give like you can sort of like do a 50-50 to say at least. Like, oh, this city is controlled by peacekeepers, this one is controlled by survivors, if you want more diversity, to say at least. But notice, you're kind of sacrificing the extra bonus effect that each faction gives you. Like, if you're decided to go, like, you give 4 territories for each faction, you're losing the opportunity to get the improved jump pad from the survivors, and the 2-way zip lines. And on the peacekeeper side, if I am not mistaken, you sort of you don't get the crossbow, if I am not mistaken, of course. And you also lose the extra traps and the UV lights that they place around the streets. But of course, that's your thing. Like, you can do whatever you want. I'm not stopping you. And yeah, this is a very simple and short video, or at least I'm hoping it is going to be short. And that's pretty much it. There's really not much else to talk about it, other than the fact that this little detail, or this little gameplay mechanic is like kind of like forgotten, to say at least, because not a lot of people really pay attention to it. Although that could just be me. I haven't really seen anyone talk about this little little mechanic, and so I feel like I should be talking about this and letting the people know about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My next video is going to be a class specific. I'm going to be talking about my #1 favorite class, and is probably the most overpowered in the game. So stay tuned. You'll see what class is it. And that's pretty much it about today's video. Hope you enjoyed. And as always, I wish you the best, and have an absolutely fantastic day. Good fucking bye. Fuck, lung cancer.